talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your Thursday night? Hope you're having a good one. Tonight, let me tell you about Lenny Bruce. A lot of people hear the name. A lot of people might think they know about Lenny Bruce, but I don't think you do. So I'm going to tell you about it. Before we get started, please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all those absolutely free things you can do. Only costs you a click that help us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-seeing algorithm. Plus, we do have super chats. We do have memberships. We love it when you do that sort of thing. Helps us pay the bills around here. And if you look at the begging bar, it's the bar at the bottom of the screen where I shamelessly ask you for things, to go to our merchandise store, all that kind of stuff. It will tell you how to turn on those gifted memberships. And very generous people will give you, out of the goodness of their heart, a free membership to the Tom Gulley Show, which gets you access to all of that members-only exclusive content that you so desperately crave and you so rightfully deserve. Let me tell you, by the way, I can't wait for Metal Making Vicky if she gets in here. For some reason, StreamYard is not streaming to the Sonic Asylum radio page this evening. Just usual StreamYard, just right out of nowhere. For some reason, oh, thanks. Then it gives you some buttons to click to fix it. And my thing is, why am I fixing it? I pay you. You know, I buy you out. You don't buy me out. I pay you. You should have fixed it already. And an additional show housekeeping note. Remember last night during the Elvis Costello show when I told you I was going to show you the Spectacular Spinning Songbook, and I went to the trailer for that, and I even turned off the sound so I wouldn't violate any musical copyrights? Yeah. Guess what I got right after the show? It wasn't a strike. It was like a notice. And it gave me the option to clip it out of the show, which I did. And so then it was monetized again and all that stuff. But yeah, good times. Good times. And how ironic that tonight we're doing a show on Lenny Bruce, who famously, was involved in a lot of censorship issues. I was transformative as it could possibly be, by the way. I was talking about it. I stopped it several times. What is going on with this? I'm cutting this hair. This hair's getting cut. Maybe just this weekend, but this has gotten out of control. Anyway, let me tell you about, well, we do have some comments here in the chat room. Let's see. I'm not a comedian. I'm Lenny Bruce, famous quotation. Jared is here from the Pod Awful cult. I have something to tell Jared as well here for the cult in general. Says H2BH, happy to be here. Happy to be here as well, Jared. He says, love the new intro, by the way. I knew you would. Because it had spiders. It has spiders in it. And by the way, I had nothing to do with that. Oh, and now great. I don't have full connection to... gives me a little, what looks like a Wi-Fi signal. It tells me it's only 2 out of 3. I'm hardwired here, Ethernet. I just, StreamYard, I'm telling you. Anyway, I knew you'd like it, Jared, because it has spiders in it, which I had nothing to do with. A member of the Pod Awful cult did, in fact, do that song, and maybe it's just a happy accident that you got spiders all over the opening of the show. I knew that would make you happy, especially. Doopa-doopa-doos here says, hello, Tom and chat. I was just listening to the Elvis Costello episode. Missed it because my brother-in-law's birthday. Well, that's okay. It's there for you anytime you'd like to revisit that. Jared, please, Jared. Oh, wait, say here. Don't forget the what? Pervitine. It's pervitine, not perverting. Although, anyway, Jared, today, and take this back to the cult, and I don't think maybe you guys are aware of this. Today, Anthony Cumia took responsibility for all the terrible shows that are out there that he spawned. He said he had to take responsibility of it. So he's either watching the Pod Awful cult. Well, I can't think of any other reason it would happen so soon after Jesse from the Pod Awful cult actually, doing that. Sorry, I'm using voice to text. Don't worry about it. Anyway, let me tell you, now I'm down to 1. Now I'm back up to 2. I'm telling you, man. I am telling you. StreamYard, you guys are probably not getting a great picture right now, right? Right? Is something like that going on? Just put it in the chat. This is ridiculous that I'm paying for this. It's just ridiculous. 2. It says 2. I don't know what that means. Anyway, okay, now we're back up to full strength. Apparently, we'll see. Let me tell you about Lenny Bruce. Let me get this show over with so I can get something to eat and you guys can go about your day. It's going to be... I'm telling you. Tomorrow night's show will be on ball jars. Let's see. I'm 2 shows behind him. Thanks for the heads up. That's incredible. It is incredible. I'll tell you what. This show, I don't know what's happened with the algorithm or whatever in the last week or 10 days or whatever, but man, we were climbing. We were doing great. And then out of nowhere. Anyway. Thanks, StreamYard. First, I can't stream to one of my biggest outlets just out of nowhere, right as I go live. It's a thing that you can't really correct in real time because you're live. The joke's over. Anyway. Well, let me tell you about Lenny Bruce. Lenny Bruce, by the way, would be the first to appreciate what's going on here. He was not originally born Lenny Bruce. He was born Leonard Alfred, yes, Alfred, Schneider. That's right. And see, there you go. Normally, when I bring a picture up, I should be like that, like I was before. No, they're helping. They're helping. Yeah, everybody like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all the free things you can do to help us with the algorithm, which apparently... Anyway. Yes. Yes, Funky Bronco. Oliver's Army is here to stay. Yeah. Lenny Bruce was not originally born Lenny Bruce. He was born Leonard Alfred Schneider. That's right. And he was a comedian, also a social critic and a satirist. He was known for his performance. Okay, very open, freewheeling, critical style of comedy, satire, involved politics, religion, sex, vulgarity, a lot of vulgarity, okay? And he was being drawn into court all the time over issues of obscenity and profanity. A trailblazer in that area. He was convicted for that in 1964, which today we would it just blow your mind that someone could be convicted on a stage where people paid money to see him, that you would be convicted of a crime. But we'll get into that. He was pardoned posthumously in 2003. Look, he's a difficult guy to talk about because... Was he funny? Yes, he was funny. Was he funny all the time? No, he was not funny all the time. What he's probably most influential, important for, was totally deconstructing the way stand-up comedy was done ever. The performative nature of stand-up comedy. He was brilliant. He was a genius. He was a giant. Certainly his fight for free speech, also a giant. He did wonderful things for the counterculture. He took the common, everyday, very staid, very traditional form of stand-up comedy in, mass media and brought in the beat generation, the hippie generation, all of that. Yeah. Landmark case for freedom of speech in the United States. In 2017, Rolling Stone magazine actually ranked him as the 3rd best stand-up comic of all time, behind Richard Pryor and George Carlin. I can't agree with that. Best stand-up comic? I don't think so. Most important? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very, very definitely so. Without question. An extremely groundbreaking, extremely important. stand-up comic in the issue of performance. He was absolutely brilliant at that. I have a lot of Lenny Bruce on CD. I mean, everything I could buy. And there are bits of his, we probably will cover some of them here, like Catholicism Incorporated, and to is a preposition, come is a verb, that aren't just funny, hilariously funny. The way he performed them was amazing. It wasn't setup, joke, punchline. It was a performance. He did voices. He did characters. He also did small films. He was kind of a filmmaker. And some of these little quick short films he did, oh man, are they just brilliant and provocative and perverse and sometimes obscene, but a major figure in stand-up comedy. Chef is in the house. Doopa-doopa-doo says Lenny Bruce was wonderful till he spun out of control. And Chef is in the house. Yes, always. Well, I guess we'll talk about it a little more later, but see the movie Lenny starring Dustin Hoffman. That'll give you a good idea of who Lenny Bruce was and what he went through. There's also a couple of books you can read about Lenny Bruce that go into great detail about his problems, his successes, his failures. At any rate, as I mentioned, he was born Leonard Alfred Schneider to a Jewish family, a very Jewish family. His dad was actually British and was a shoe clerk. They didn't hardly ever see each other. Now, his mother, whose real name was Sadie Schneider, but was known as Sally Marr, she was a performer and an entertainer and a dancer and a major stage mother, had a huge influence on his career. He grew up in New York and, his parents divorced before he was 10, and he lived with a lot of different relatives over the next decade until he was 20 years old. And the reason for that was his mother performing was really more important to her. At any rate, he joined the United States Navy when he was 16 years of age in 1942. Yes, during World War II, he served aboard the USS Brooklyn in North Africa and in Italy at Anzio. In 1945, after a comic performance for his shipmates where he was dressed in drag, his commanding officers became upset. They didn't go for that back in World War II. He defiantly convinced his ship's medical officer that he was experiencing homosexual urges, and that led to his dishonorable discharge in July of 1945. However, he had not admitted to or been found guilty of any breach of naval regulations and successfully applied to have his discharge changed to under honorable conditions by reason of unsuitability for the naval service. So he got an honorable discharge, but they're kind of talking out of both sides of their mouths there. It's like, hey, honorable discharge because you can't do Navy things good. During the Korean War, Lenny Bruce served in the United States Merchant Marine, ferrying troops from the U.S. to Europe and back. In 1959, while videotaping the first episode of Hugh Hefner's Playboy's Penthouse, he actually talked about his Navy experience and showed a tattoo he received in Malta in 1942. After a very short period of living with his father in California, he went back to New York. He wanted to be a comedian, but he found it very difficult to differentiate himself from the thousands of other people wanting to get into showbiz that inhabited New York. One place they all kind of hung out was Hanson's, and this place was famous, and it was a diner where Lenny Bruce met a comedian named Joe Ansis, who had a huge influence on Lenny Bruce's approach to comedy. Joe Ansis used to do something that he called spritzing. And that's when he would just kind of, in a very foul-mouthed way, go on these tirades that were only funny because of the way that he performed them, right? So A lot of his later routines actually talked about his they didn't talk about him so much as they reflected his meticulous kind of apprenticeship at the hands of Joe Ancis. According to Lenny Bruce's biographer, Albert Goldman, a lot of people have a problem with Albert Goldman's books. They're very scandalous. Some of them are criticized for not being 100% accurate and taking third-hand accounts that may or may not be 100% true. But his book on Lenny Bruce goes into great detail. The level of research is rather amazing. According to Albert Goldman, Ancis's humor involves stream of consciousness sexual fantasies and references to jazz. And he also gained notoriety for his focus on controversial subjects, black humor, obscenity, and criticism of organized religion and, quote unquote, the establishment. Why can't I talk today? Why can't I speak? You'd think Lenny Bruce, I'd be able to speak. I'm censoring myself, ladies and gentlemen. I'll later take myself to court and convict myself of lack of speech. I know what'll help. Mountain Dew Zero. Why don't let me show a poster. Maybe that'll help. Oh, great. You're going to take a half an hour on that? This is later on in his career, but it's pretty. He took the stage named Lenny Marsal, or Marsali, I don't know how to pronounce it, one evening at the Victory Club as a stand-in master of ceremonies at one of his mom's shows. And he started ad-libbing. And those ad-libs got him some laughs. And soon afterward, and this is in 1947, just after he changed his stage name to Bruce and became Lenny Bruce, he earned $12 and a free spaghetti dinner for his first stand-up performance in Brooklyn. He was later a guest and even introduced by his mother on the Arthur Godfrey Talent Scouts radio program. You guys remember the show we did on Arthur Godfrey, right? This was a huge show, by the way, Talent Scouts. He did a piece inspired by Sid Caesar called The Bavarian Mimic, featuring impressions of American movie stars like Humphrey Bogart, James Cagney, and Edward G. Robinson. His early comedy career included writing the screenplays for Dance Hall Racket, a movie in 1953, which featured Lenny Bruce and his wife, who was a stripper, named Honey Harlow. Yes. Portrayed by Valerie Perrine in the movie Lenny. Also had his mother, Sally Marr, in it. He did another called Dream Follies in 1954, kind of a low-budget burlesque thing, and a children's film called Rocket Man in 1954. In 1956, Frank Ray Perilli, a fellow nightclub comedian who later wrote a couple of dozen successful films and plays, became Lenny Bruce's mentor and part-time manager. Now, through Perilli, Lenny Bruce met and collaborated with photojournalist William Carl Thomas on 3 screenplays, Leather Jacket, Killer's Grave, and The Degenerate. And none of them got made into movies. But they did collaborate on some of the comedy material for his first 3 albums. Lenny Bruce was a roommate of comedian Buddy Hackett. I don't know how many of you remember Buddy Hackett. He's in one of the Love Bug films. He's in The Music Man. He does Shapoopy.
Lenny Buddy Hackett, talk like this.
Anyway, the two appeared on the Patrice Munsell Show in 1957 and 1958, calling their comedy duo the Not Ready for Prime Time Players. That's right, 20 years before the cast of Saturday Night Live used the same name. In 1957, Thomas booked Bruce into the Slate Brothers nightclub. The Slate Brothers were famous nightclub. Don Rickles got his start there. And he was fired on his very first night for what Variety called blue material. And this led to the theme of Bruce's first solo album on Fantasy Records, The Sick Humor of Lenny Bruce. Yeah. By the way, his buddy, the photographer, photographed the album cover and all of Lenny Bruce's other covers and acted as a cinematographer on abortive attempts to film their screenplays. The 2016 biography of Frank Ray Perilli, called The Candy Butcher, devotes a chapter to Perilli's 10-year collaboration with Lenny Bruce. Lenny Bruce released 4 albums of original material on Fantasy Records and later compiled and released those as the Lenny Bruce Originals. A couple of later records were produced and sold by Lenny Bruce himself, including a 10-inch album of the 1961 San Francisco performances that started all of his legal troubles. And oh boy, did he have legal troubles. Starting in the late 60s, other unissued Bruce material was released by Alan Douglas, Frank Zappa, Phil Spector, as well as Fantasy Records. Lenny Bruce developed the complexity and tone of his material in Enrico Banducci's North Beach nightclub, The Hungry Eye. The Hungry Eye. Now, this performance that you see on screen right now was at, probably one of Bill Graham's locations. The Hungry Eye, though, a very, very famous nightclub in San Francisco. It's where Mort Saul had earlier made a name for himself. And I want to say, was it Steve Martin? One of Steve Martin's albums might have been from The Hungry Eye. Now, already Lenny Bruce is being branded as what they called a sick comic back in the day. That just meant he worked blue or he used profanity. And he was basically blacklisted from television. And when he did appear, thanks to fans of his like Hugh Hefner or Steve Allen, he did have his fans that were established people in entertainment. It was with huge concessions to what they called at the time broadcast standards and practices, which is just a fancy name for the censors. Jokes that might offend, like a routine on airplane glue sniffing teenagers that was done for the Steve Allen Show live in 1959, had to be typed out and pre-approved by network people. On his debut on the Steve Allen Show, Lenny Bruce made an unscripted comment on the recent marriage of Elizabeth Taylor to Eddie Fisher, wondering, will Elizabeth Taylor become bar mitzvahed? Sometimes this show. In the midst of a severe blizzard, Lenny Bruce gave a famous performance at Carnegie Hall at midnight, February 4th, 1961. It was recorded and later released as the 3-disc set, The Carnegie Hall Concert. Albert Goldman describes that night. It's all a trip. And the best of it is you haven't seen the faintest idea of where you're going. Lenny worshiped the gods of spontaneity, candor, and free association. His greatest fear was getting his act down pat. It was never the same way twice. On this night, he rose to every chance stimulus, every interruption and noise and distraction, with a mad volleying of mental images that suggested the fantastic riches of Charlie Parker's horn. The first flash was simply the spectacle of people piled up in America's most famous concert hall. Probably Robin Williams would be the closest thing in terms of free association and just sort of spontaneously performing an act that we ever had since Lenny Bruce. In August of 1965, a year before his death, Bruce gave his penultimate performance at San Francisco's Basin Street West, mainly talking about his legal troubles. And his act, at a certain point, it just became him railing about his legal troubles. The film performance was released by Rhino Home Video in 1992 as the Lenny Bruce performance film. It's very important and interesting to watch as sort of a record, but it's not something you would watch for entertainment purposes. In 1961, Bruce met Honey Harlow, a stripper from Manila, Arkansas. They were married that year, and Bruce was determined to see her stop working as a stripper. Why don't I just put up some of his legal troubles? There were a lot of legal troubles, folks. A lot of them. The couple left New York in 1953 for the West Coast, where they found work as a double act at the Cup and Saucer in Los Angeles. Bruce joined Bill at the club Strip City. Honey Harlow found employment at the Colony Club, widely known as the best burlesque club in Los Angeles at the time. Bruce left Strip City in late 1954 and found work at various strip clubs in the San Fernando Valley. As a master of ceremonies, he induced strippers to strip, introducing them while also performing his material. Those clubs in the Valley also provided like a great environment for him to create new routines because he wasn't going to be censored. According to Albert Goldman, it was precisely at the moment when he sank to the bottom of the barrel and started at working places that were the lowest of the low that he suddenly broke free of all the restraints and inhibitions and disabilities that formerly had kept him just mediocre and began to basically have the freedom that he needed. Honey and Lenny's daughter, Kathleen Kitty Bruce, was born in 1955. Honey and Lenny had a tumultuous relationship with many serious domestic disputes, usually the result of a lot of serious drug use. Both of them were very heavily addicted to heroin at one point. They broke up and reunited over and over again between 1956 and Lenny's death in 1966. They first separated in March of 1956, and they were back together by July of that year when they traveled to Honolulu for a nightclub tour. During the trip, Honey was arrested for marijuana possession, and due to the conditions of her parole, she was prevented from leaving the island, so she had to stay in Hawaii. Lenny took this opportunity to leave her again. This time, he kidnapped the one-year-old daughter, Kitty. In her autobiography, Honey claimed that Lenny turned her into the police. Later, she was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison. They got divorced in 1959, and he had an affair with jazz singer Annie Ross in the late 50s. Comedian Lotus Weinstock, yes, that's the name of a female comedian, was Bruce's girlfriend and fiancée at the time of his death. Lenny Bruce had a very, very severe drug addiction in the final decade of his life. He used heroin, methamphetamine, and Dilaudid on a daily basis, and he suffered from numerous health problems as a result. In addition to a lot of personal strife and his legal problems, his death was caused by an overdose. So his desire to help his wife stop working as a stripper led him to get involved into schemes that were designed to make as much money as possible. And the most notable of these was the Brother Matthias Foundation scam, which resulted in Bruce's arrest for impersonating a priest in Miami, Florida in 1951. He was basically soliciting donations for a leper colony in British Guiana, now just called Guyana, under the auspices of the Brother Matthias Foundation, which he had legally chartered. The name was his own invention, but he possibly used it in reference to the real person known as Brother Matthias, who had befriended Babe Ruth when he was in a Baltimore orphanage and had taught Babe Ruth how to hit a baseball. So there you go. While he was posing as a laundryman, Bruce stole several priest clergy shirts and clerical collars. He was acquitted because of the legality of the New York State Chartered Foundation, the actual existence of a leper colony in Guyana, and the local clergy's inability to expose him as an imposter. Later, in his semi-fictional autobiography, which is really a great read, by the way, he wrote it himself, How to Talk Dirty and Influence People, Lenny Bruce said he'd made about $8,000 in 3 weeks, and he sent $2,500 to the leper colony and kept the rest of the money for himself. Let's get to some of your comments because we're about to get into his obscenity stuff that he's really, I mean, I talked about one half of it, his performative ability. Back then, stand-up comics got up and said, "Take my wife, please," and stuff like that. Lenny Bruce was the first to really seriously get into philosophical comedy, stream of consciousness, taking on the government, taking on the pillars of American society, and being very disrespectful and very profane and very obscene while he was doing it. Let's get to some of your comments. People saying hi, people saying hi, people saying hi. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet as verified by independent sources. Now might be a good time for me to beg you, please like, please share, please notification bell, please subscribe. Need those subscriptions and those likes to help us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful algorithm. And then we do have super chats and memberships. We absolutely love it when you help us out that way because it helps us pay the bills around here. And then look at the scroll at the bottom of the screen there, and it'll tell you how to turn on your gifted memberships. And maybe some big shot will come through here and gift you one. Yes. People laughing. Honey Harlow is a great name for a stripper. It really is. Who's hot and horny, says Goober. Who is that as a person, or who in the room happens to be? You guys will have to just solve that on your own. Let's see. People saying hi. People saying hi. People saying hi. People saying hi. And, of course, people saying hi. Yes. Okay, let's get into some of these arrests. There are quite a few of them. And these are the obscenity arrests. And I'll say it again. In this day and age, I don't know that we can really understand that at the time you could be arrested for saying words on a stage in a place where people had paid money to see you. Many times a police officer would enter, and the police officer would be the one that filed the complaint, not a member of the public, And so, anyway. Here we go. In October of 1961, Lenny was arrested for obscenity at the Jazz Workshop in San Francisco, where he had used the word "it ends in sucker," and said that, and this is a famous bit of his, "to is a preposition, come is a verb," and that the sexual context of come was so common that it bore no weight, and that if someone hearing it became upset, well, he probably can't. Although the jury acquitted him, other law enforcement agencies began monitoring his appearances, resulting in frequent arrests under obscenity charges. He was arrested again in 1961 in Philadelphia, but that was for drug possession, and that happened again in L.A. 2 years later. He did get prescribed drugs from time to time, but the laws regarding having those in different jurisdictions were different than they are now, and many times he would claim that the drugs were placed there by the police. He was very critical of the police. That arrest in Los Angeles took place in the then unincorporated West Hollywood, and the arresting officer was a young deputy named Sherman Block, who later became county sheriff. The charge this time was that the comedian had used the word schmuck, an insulting Yiddish word that was also considered a term for guys. Yeah. The Hollywood charges were later dismissed. In December of 1962, Bruce was arrested on stage at the Gate of Horn Folk Club in Chicago. Now, Chicago at the time, very, very, very Catholic, still is, but all of the aldermen from Chicago were Catholic. And they took a very dim view of his language. That year, he played at Peter Cook's The Establishment Club in London. And in April the next year, he was banned from entering the United Kingdom by the Home Office as an undesirable alien due to his speech. In April of 1964, he appeared twice at the Cafe A Go-Go in Greenwich Village in New York with undercover police detectives in the audience. He was arrested along with the club owners, Howard and Ellie Solomon, who were arrested for allowing an obscene performance. On both occasions, Bruce was arrested after leaving the stage. A 3-judge panel presided over his widely publicized 6-month trial, prosecuted by Manhattan Assistant District Attorney Richard Koo, with Ephraim London and Martin Garbus as the defense attorneys. Bruce and Howard Solomon were found guilty of obscenity on November 4th, 1964. The conviction was announced despite positive testimony and petitions of support from other artists, writers, and educators: Woody Allen, Bob Dylan, Jules Feiffer, Allen Ginsberg, Norman Mailer, William Styron, James Baldwin, and Manhattan journalist and television personality Dorothy Kilgallen and sociologist Herbert Gans. These are heavyweight people. Bruce was sentenced on December 21st, 1964 to 4 months in a workhouse. He was set free on bail during the appeals process and died before the appeal was decided. Solomon, the owner of the club, later saw Bruce's conviction overturned. In later years, Bruce appeared on network television only 6 times. Maybe the most well-known comic of his time, 6 times on network TV. His later club performances basically were him relating the details of his encounters with police. Those performances often included rants about his court battles over the obscenity charges, tirades against fascism, complaints that he was being denied his right to freedom of speech, which he was. He was blacklisted from multiple clubs in several U.S. cities. In September of 1962, his only visit to Australia caused a media storm, and even though he wasn't banned or forced to leave the country, he was booked for a 2-week engagement at Aaron's Exchange Hotel, which was a little tiny pub in Sydney, by an American-born promoter named Lee Gordon, who was by then deeply in debt, was Lenny Bruce, nearing the end of his formerly successful career and desperate to save his business. His first show at 9 p.m. was uneventful, but his second show at 11 p.m. on September 6th led to major public controversy. He was heckled by the audience members, and when a local actress stood up and complained that he was only talking about America and asked to talk about something different, clearly annoyed Bruce responded, "Blank you, madam. That's different, isn't it?" His remarks shocked some audience members, and several walked out. By the next day, several Sydney papers denounced him as sick, and one of them retouched a photo having him give the fascist salute. The venue owners canceled the rest of his performances, and he retreated to his King's Cross hotel room. Local university students, including future Oz magazine editor Richard Neville, who were fans of his humor, tried to arrange a performance at the Roadhouse at the University of New South Wales, but at the last minute, the university's vice-chancellor rescinded permission to use the venue with no reason given, and I hate that man. Totally hate that man. The ice cream man, in case you didn't hear it. An interview Bruce was scheduled to give on Australian television was canceled by the Australian Broadcasting Commission. He remained confined to his hotel, but 8 days later gave his third and last Australian concert at the Winter Garden Theatre in Sydney's eastern suburbs. Although it had a capacity of 2,100, only 200 people attended, including a strong police presence, and Lenny Bruce gave what was described as a subdued performance. It was long rumored that a tape recording of this very historic performance was made by the police, but it was in fact recorded by local jazz saxophonist Sid Powell, who brought a portable tape recorder to the show. The tape was rediscovered in 2011 in the possession of Australian singer Sammy Gaha, who had acted as Bruce's chauffeur during his visit. It was subsequently donated to the Lenny Bruce audio collection at Brandeis University. Bruce left the country a few days later and spoke very little about the experience. Increasing drug use, affected his health, and repeated arrests further caused deterioration to his mental health. By 1966, he'd been blacklisted by nearly every nightclub in the United States because the owners were scared that they were going to be prosecuted for obscenity. He gave a famous performance at the Berkeley Community Theater in December of 1965, which was recorded and became his last live album, the Berkeley Concert. The performance has been described as lucid, clear, calm, and one of his best. His last performance took place on June 25th, 1966 at the Fillmore Auditorium. I think that's this one. Yes, it is. The Fillmore Auditorium. On a bill with Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, the performance was not remembered fondly by Bill Graham, whose memoir describes Bruce as whacked out on amphetamine. Graham thought Bruce finished his set emotionally disturbed. Zappa asked Bruce to sign his draft card, but the suspicious Lenny Bruce refused. At the request of Hugh Hefner, and with the aid of Paul Krasner, who was a writer and satirist of the time, Lenny Bruce wrote an autobiography that was serialized in Playboy in 1964 and 65. It was later published as that book I mentioned earlier, How to Talk Dirty and Influence People, which is a wonderfully great read. It's a very funny book. During this time, Bruce also contributed a number of articles to Krasner's satirical magazine, The Realist. On August 3rd, 1966, Lenny Bruce was found dead in the bathroom of his Hollywood Hills home. The official photo taken at the scene, which you can see online, I wouldn't recommend it, showed him lying naked on the floor, a syringe and a burned bottle cap nearby, along with various other narcotics paraphernalia. Record producer Phil Spector, a good friend of Lenny Bruce's, bought the negatives of the photographs to keep them from the press. The official cause of death was acute morphine poisoning caused by an overdose. His remains, which are behind me and now just to the side of me, were interred at Eden Memorial Park Cemetery in Mission Hills, California. But an unconventional memorial on August 21st was controversial enough to keep his name in the spotlight. Over 500 people came to the service to pay their respects, led by Phil Spector, the greatest record producer of his time. Cemetery officials tried to block the ceremony after ads for it encouraged attendees to bring box lunches. During the eulogy featured at the end of the documentary Lenny Bruce Without Tears, the Reverend William Glesnick said, "He was in a sense an evangelist on a street corner. He was a man, uptight against an artificial world who shattered its facades and its hypocrisy, and, if you will pardon the phrase, which seems to be a cliche, he saw life as it is." His epitaph, which you can see before you right now, reads, "Beloved Father, devoted Son, peace at last." Dick Schaap, the famous sportscaster and author, concluded in his eulogy to Bruce in Playboy with the words, "One last four-letter word for Lenny, dead at 40. That's obscene. A memorial event was held at the Judson Memorial Church in New York City on August 12th, which was packed to overflowing an hour before it was due to get underway. It was attended by prominent members of the arts community, many of whom also performed at the ceremony, including Allen Ginsberg, Gene Shepard, Charlie Hayden, the Fugs. On December 23rd, 2003, 37 years after Lenny Bruce's death, New York Governor George Pataki granted him a posthumous pardon for his obscenity conviction. Now let's talk about his legacy, because that might be the most important thing about Lenny Bruce. He was the subject of that film, and I know Dupa has mentioned it, the biographical drama Lenny, directed by Bob Fosse, starring Dustin Hoffman, who was nominated for Best Actor Academy Award, and was actually based on a Broadway stage play of the same name. The main character's editing of a fictionalized film of Lenny was also a major part of the film. The documentary film Lenny Bruce, Swear to Tell the Truth, was narrated by Robert De Niro and was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. Episode 12 of Season 1 of Liberty on Trial in America, Cases That Defined, well, maybe both words are appropriate, aired on January 3rd, 2020, and explored the ways in which Bruce and the First Amendment affected each other. In 2004, Comedy Central placed Bruce at number 3 on the list of 100 greatest stand-ups of all time, above Woody Allen, 4th, Richard Pryor, 1st, George Carlin, 2nd. Both comedians who ranked higher than Bruce considered him a major influence. Pryor said that hearing Bruce for the first time changed my life, while Carlin said that Bruce was a brilliant comedian who influenced him as a man in his moral thinking and attitudes as much as he did a comedian. By the way, George Carlin, as I mentioned during our George Carlin program, was arrested along with Bruce after refusing to provide identification when police raided a Lenny Bruce performance. Please like, please share, please subscribe, throw it on your own social media. We got to get this sucker cranked up here, folks. We got to get this. I mean, let's face it, StreamYard's not helping. I'm doing a show on ball jars tomorrow. I did one on lint this week. We got to do something. Pull this out of the gutter. Let's get to some of your comments real quickly, because those are the best part of the doggone show, if you ask me. Let's see here. Jared says, didn't know he did all those drugs at the end. Not just at the end, Jared. He did a lot of drugs throughout his life. Pills, pot, heroin. He did it all. He did it all. Dupas said it was so sad. A brilliant comic losing his mind. Bar mitzvah equals boy. I think I said, yeah, it does. Yeah. Hey, the Dabble Jew. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you, man. Bat mitzvah equals girl. I know. We all know that. We're not, we may be goyim, but we're not fakakta. Lucas Malago says, media types do venerate the junkie, don't they? Well, yeah. He was a junkie. And he did, but a lot of the reason he was such a bad junkie for so long was when all of the obscenity stuff happened. He was being imprisoned just for doing his act. Couldn't earn a living, all that stuff. But yes, you're right, they do. Yes. Yes, Duva. People saying hi. Ice cream, yes, Jared. Yeah, the guy's showing up. Saluting Dupa ice cream. I can't hear the ice cream man. Replay it later. You'll hear him. But it's still enough that why? What's the temp right now? It's 72 degrees. Okay, borderline, but it's also 7:45 at night. Second best Lenny. Judy, that's funny. Judy says, well, third best probably. Lucas Malago is agreeing with that. Dupa says, Tom and Chat, who's your favorite comedian of all time? It's impossible for me to say. If I had to really pick one, really pick one, and I'm a big Pryor fan, I'm a big George Carlin fan, big Norm Macdonald fan, I'd say Robert Klein. I would say Robert Klein is my favorite comedian of all time. I liked Richard Pryor, says Chef. Dupa says, Chef, Richard Pryor should be a Tom Gulley Show episode. Well, that's getting done. I'll do that next week. I've been having trouble figuring out a way to get a hold of Robert Klein. I think I have one, but now I got to figure out how to suck up to him. I would just, and I'm going to tell him this in a message. I'm going to go, if you just wrote me a note back, that's fine. Anything. I realize this show. I'm in the process right now of trying to get a guest that is well known and accomplished enough in show business that it matters how many people listen to the show. When I used to do my podcast, I got enough plays and stuff on my podcast that I could easily get people. This show, I had to tell a guy. He's like, how many? What's your reach? And I'm like, well, sometimes we get hundreds, other times. So that's a problem. Also, maybe Bill Hicks is a Tom Gulley Show episode. Well, Bill Hicks is another of my big favorites, so I'll just write that down, and we will do Bill Hicks from Texas, by the way. Stribs is saying hi. Hello, how are you? Dupa. Thank you. Let's get this sucker cracked up. Dupa, for that, you get the point. You also get Marshall McLuhan, Tom Gulley, and you also get Galumbo. All three of them. Thank you so much, Dupa. That is very, very, very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Just kidding. Let's see here. Dupa has always been a wonderful follower of the show. She always adds to the show. Everybody likes her. Way more popular than me on this program. Ball Jars, you might want to ask her sisters for their input. Why? I was there before they were. They didn't win the Letterman Scholarship. I know more than they do about the place. Well, I probably do. H2BH something. Lights. Hello, Boat. Good to see you. Love you. Love the show. Boat, have you had your Urban Moving Systems Incorporated? So may he rest well in Jewish heaven. I love that. Urban Moving Systems. Welcome to the show. That's one of the best screen names I've seen in a long time. Doo says, let's get this sucker cranked up. I want to say that tomorrow in normal conversation. Yeah. Hey, let's get this sucker cranked up here. Oh, boy. Bill Hicks is amazing, isn't he? Doopadoo says, Galumbo, our boy SG Fanboy, is doing great. Yeah, he was in here somewhat recently, and I miss that guy so much. I really do. My opening is almost a tribute to him with all those great things. Dupa's laughing at Urban Moving Systems. That is so awesome. That is really awesome. If you thought I was done with Lenny Bruce, you're wrong. I'm not. In popular culture, there are so many here. I'm going to try to pick out some of the best ones. Man, oh man. Lenny Bruce is pictured at the top row of the cover of the Beatles' 1967 album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Man. What do you think about that? A clip of a news broadcast featured in 7 o'clock news Silent Night by Simon and Garfunkel carries the newscast audio of Bruce's death. In another track on the album Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme, a simple, desultory Philippic, or How I Was Robert McNamara into Submission, Paul Simon sings, I learned the truth from Lenny Bruce, that all my wealth won't buy me health. Yes. Nico's 1967 album Chelsea Girl includes a track entitled Eulogy to Lenny Bruce. The Stranglers' 1977 song No More Heroes references Lenny Bruce, asking whatever happened to dear old Lenny. Genesis' 1974 song Broadway Melody of 1974 depicts a dystopic New York where Lenny Bruce declares a truce and plays his other hand. Marshall McLuhan, Casual Viewing, head buried in the sand. What do you think about that? 2 subjects here on the Tom Gulley Show. Yeah, two of them. John Mayall's 1969 live album, The Turning Point, opens with the song The Laws Must Change, featuring the line, Lenny Bruce was trying to tell you many things before he died. Bob Dylan's 1981 song, Lenny Bruce, from his Shot of Love album, describes a brief taxi ride the two men shared. In its last line, Dylan recalls, Lenny Bruce was bad. He was the brother you never had. There's too many of them here, man. There are just REM's song, It's the End of the World and We Know It, mentions Lenny Bruce twice. Its opening line, That's great. It starts with an earthquake, birds and snakes, and airplanes, and Lenny Bruce is not afraid. The third verse refers to a quartet of famous people sharing the initials LB. Lenny Bruce, Leonard Bernstein, Leonid Brezhnev, and Lester Bangs. So there you go. Lenny Bruce appears as a character in Don DeLillo's 1997 novel Underworld, where Bruce does a stand-up routine about the Cuban Missile Crisis. There's just too many of them, man. There's too many of them. A fictionalized version of Lenny Bruce is played by Luke Kirby as a recurring character in the Amazon series The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, where he's portrayed as a friend and champion of the titular character. Kirby won an Emmy for his portrayal of Lenny Bruce in 2019. Lenny Bruce, that's all I have to tell you about him, but people throw his name out all the time, I think, to kind of seem hip and cool. And yeah, Lenny Bruce was certainly hip, and he was arguably cool. His stand-up comedy is an acquired taste. I personally feel that he was a brilliant comedic genius. I think it's called Catholicism Incorporated. It's hilarious, especially if you're a Catholic. Let me see here. Because I've got like 4 or 5 of his CDs. And I want to get the title of these bits proper. Let me see. The Best of Lenny Bruce. That's probably got one. Lima, Ohio, White Collar Drunk. Father Flotsky's Triumph is pretty good. No, it's called Religions Incorporated. Religions Incorporated. Okay. And it's a really good one. It's a really good one. Where's the other one? I think it's, let me see here. I think this is the title of it. It's called Jewish and Goyish. And it compares things are Jewish and Goyish. Very, very funny bits. So he did have some what you would call standard stand-up comedy bits that were very, very funny. But, to as a preposition, come as a verb. That one is very funny, but it's performative. The way he's doing it and the stream of consciousness. That's one of the things he was really, really groundbreaking for, was deconstructing stand-up comedy and turning it into a true performance rather than a guy telling jokes. Okay? So the stand-up comedy we have today probably wouldn't have it without Lenny Bruce. All right. The other reason he's important is that he brought in so many elements to stand-up comedy. Before it was just, hey, my boss is a jerk, my wife won't quit nagging me. He brought in politics, culture, counterculture, sex, religion, politics, the military, everything. All right, he talked about everything in a more philosophical kind of comedy. He's also important for fighting for your free speech and my free speech, because let's not make any bones about it. That was the government trying to stifle free speech. That wasn't me and my employer or a social media platform. The First Amendment of the United States Constitution doesn't guarantee you free speech. Quit thinking that. It doesn't. It says the government cannot restrict your speech. And that's what it is when police officers attend a concert. You know what I'm saying? And there's laws against, know what I'm saying? So anyway, those are the reasons he's really important. So that's all I got to tell you about Lenny Bruce. Let's just get to some more of your comments. I will take the very depressing tombstone down while we go over some of these comments. There we go. Let me see what we got here. Doggone it, Dupa. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The donations, yeah, it does cost money to do this. It costs way too much for StreamYard for what I'm getting. But it's mostly for my ego. And, the notion that maybe someday if I had 8 hours a day to devote to this, that I could, make a very, very bottom living at it. Right now, it's just, hey, I'm going to get the name brand pretzels. That's pretty much all it's, Chef says he's sorry he has to go. So everyone say goodnight, Gracie. Everyone, goodnight, Gracie. The wolf has arrived. Hello, wolf. Doopa-doopa-doo saying good night. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, is verified by independent sources. Man, I can really use some subscribers. I can really use some likes. Those likes, they help so much. And post, maybe not this show, but pick one that you liked from the past, or if you've never been here before, just pick one from all of them. We had a hell of a show on lint earlier this week. And just post it on one of your social media platforms and give everybody a little taste. Just a little taste. People saying hi, people saying hi, people saying hi. Exactly. And Jared says, great show, man. I'm going to go in the Discord after this, Jared. I'm trying to get a hold of Jesse so I can tell him, Anthony Cumia copped to what you said. It happens so often to him that he probably won't be impressed. I'm trying to suck up a little bit. Plus the fact, he'll pretend he already knew about it anyway. So, Cobra Kai! There you go. Just for you, Dupa. In fact, I'll take this over here so you can get the Cobra Kai! That's a thing. Lucas Malago says, I'm going to let Tom Gulley tell me about pretzels. All right, my God, we're going to do a show on pretzels. Those. Tomorrow night, I'll tell you what next week's shows are going to be about. I haven't planned them yet. I'll meet you there, Tom. You're daggone right you will. Let's see, Sturgis pretzels. Sturgis pretzel. By the way, our phone lines are open. Let's turn off the begging bar. It's clear. Only Dupa was generous enough to. Let's turn off the begging bar, and phone lines are open at 972-994-6822 if you care to call in and say bad things to me. Continue your calls and chats in Teams. Maybe see if I can make that conversion. I'll do that later. If I can convert and keep this phone number, then I don't care Skype's going away. What do I care? It's a whole nother, it's a whole nother, piece of software. I should do it the other way. I could just do it during I could use my Facebook page if I wanted to. If I felt like it. I know a lot of other ways to do it. I just like the phone number because that's easier for some people. Bout says you could use Ventrilo. Yes, Ventrilo's one, and then there's some other ones too. Megabit Banshee says, you like Rodney Dangerfield? I don't know. Hey. I'm not saying my wife gets around, but I went to the bar the other day. A guy showed me naked pictures of my wife. I said, who said you could take pictures of my wife naked? He said, everybody. Yeah, I love Rodney Dangerfield. That was a bad imitation, but I love it. Megabit Banshee, thank you for being here and welcome. Everybody say hi to Megabit Banshee, please. Let's dogpile Megabit Banshee with love and hello, if we could, please. We could get that underway, please. That'd be great. And one of the best things about Rodney Dangerfield is that he was so great to young comics. He really supported and spawned the career of a lot of young comedians. I got Dangerfield and Rickles written down here. Maybe we'll do a comic a week for the next however long till I get mad and rage quit doing the show. Boat says you could do a secret stream and call it Tom's Hug Box. Well, that's our members only content, Boat. That's why you get that members only content. Tom's Hug Box. I don't think I should call it that, but I'm picking up what you're putting down, mister. Yeah, we'll get some more comic shows in here. I don't know what I got to do to, well, that's really weird looking. I don't know what I got to do to get, it'd be great if I could play clips of things, and I think there is a way. I could play sound clips of things if I want to pay for the ASCAP and BMI licensing. But I think that's, I don't know. I forget, I priced it one time. It's either for digital online streaming, I think it's like $700 or $1,400. Another thing I could do is broadcast this show over live365.com in audio form. I don't think anybody's wanting me to do that, but that gets you a license. Plus, I had a thing with Live 365. I started an online radio station, and I signed up for that, and they gave you a certain amount of storage for music. As you guys know, I have 800 CDs, and I downloaded all of this music. I didn't download all 800 CDs, but I picked the best songs that I might ever want to play. And I thought, this is great because I can just randomize them. And all of these songs, and it gave me like 20 gigs of storage, which is a lot when you're just using MP3s. And so it would only play like 100 of those songs. And I kept writing in those, hey, man, what's going on here? Well, we're having a glitch, and I'm like, I'm not paying for this. I'm not paying for a glitch. I stuck with them for about, 6 months, and it wasn't cheap. And then I finally just said, no, I'm sorry. I'm not, the 100 songs is only 300 minutes. I'm not having this turnover every 6 hours. It's just not happening. I loved Live 365 in 2000. Found so many great bands. Yeah, Live 365 is still a great way to go if you're just listening to audio. There's a lot of great channels on it. There really are. But the biggest reason to do it, look, right now, I could do Live 365. I'm not joking. I could download and I have the audio. Remember the old days, Boat, from when I was on all those networks? Incidentally, can somebody go to Sonic Asylum Radio, which for some reason, I'll just wait until the show's over and put the link up there. StreamYard didn't stream to there today. And Lenny Bruce is probably something the heavy metal crowd would really be interested. Don't get me going. But I could take all my podcasts, all 275 of them or whatever there are, in MP3 form. I could take all of the shows that I used to have on all those networks, which I have in MP3 form, and I could convert all of these YouTube videos, there's 400 of them or something, into MP3. I could put those on Live 365, and they could just stream all day long. Can you dig it? I knew that you could. The Tom Gulley Podcast Network, well, it'll be the Tom Gulley Show Network, probably. I don't know, all these are podcasts, but both, yeah, we're great minds. You know what I'm saying? By the way, I hope you had a lot of brand today, because I know what you like to do in your spare time. Lucas Malago says, lost media files will be the digital archaeologist's future. Yeah, I should hide some under a couch cushion or something, so there'll be lost media one day. This ain't nobody going to want to listen to this crap. I'm waiting for some, it'd probably be a boomerish person or somebody associated with NPR, which may not even be in existence much longer. It's defunded. to stumble across the show that's an influencer and go, this creepy, weird old man, he does a lot of shows on a lot of stuff. Maybe I should do what I do for a living and actually advertise the show. No. Let's not go crazy. Boat Boy says, hell yeah, brother. Got that fiber intake. You got to. Lucas Malago is saying, yes, of course. You must always have your fiber intake. 972-994-6822. I'll keep phone lines open for 5 minutes, and then we're out of here. And I can run over to the Discord for a much more popular show where they're kind enough to tolerate me. Usually. They're kind enough to tolerate an old man. Tomorrow we'll do a show on ball jars. Well, you'll get to learn all about the Ball brothers who founded, yes, that's right, Ball State University. Baseball is starting. I don't know if it started today or if it's starting in a few days, and I don't care. Let's see. I won't call, so you'll come into the Discord faster. Well, it's going to take a few minutes because I got to start making something to eat here. I'm starving. I'm starving. Absolutely starving. I'm always starving at the end of the show. I don't like to eat before the show. It just makes me all sort of... Okay, it doesn't make me sort of, but it makes me exactly that way. Not even sort of. Yeah, okay, so nobody's going to call. Beautiful. I wonder if I have to pay. I probably still have to pay. I don't know how they're going to convert the call part of it. I'll probably still have to pay for the... Well, I don't see them wanting to get rid of any of their income. So I'll probably have to pay for the phone number, and I'll probably have to pay for the unlimited calls, which is stupid. I've been paying for unlimited calls for I don't know how many months now, and every month I get 3 minutes in calls, which would cost me 15 cents. Pro broadcaster doesn't eat beforehand. Well, I learned it from Billy Joel. He said he doesn't eat before. He likes to be hungry. And he also says that sometimes when he's performing, he's like, Street Life Serenader. I think I'd like a steak. Shopping center hero. Midnight Masquerade. Boat says, I don't have a phone anymore, otherwise I'd call. I don't believe in phones. Phones are overrated. Phones are going to be on overrated, underrated one of these days. If I ever start doing that again, I was doing it on Fridays because it was so unpopular, and Fridays are a lousy show day for me. I mean, I never get anybody watching. So I said, well, I'll just do the most unpopular thing I have on Fridays, overrated, underrated, which I was hoping would catch on, and it hasn't. It's been roundly rejected by, you guys are just pointing up in the air now. Let's see here. Lucas is cool. Lucas is very cool. And I would like to point out, Lucas, I'm giving you enough credit, perhaps enough, and as often, Lucas almost always retweets my X, formerly known as Twitter, postings about the show, which I do before every show. He does that. The Wolf's here. He says, the phones are real jerks. They really are. They're a bunch of jerks. All right, I'm closing the phone lines down. Why continue with that masquerade? Now, here's the thing. If I opened the phone lines up while I was doing the topic, people would be calling in like crazy. Take me 4 hours to get the topic done. Why is Lenny Bruce looking at me that way? He's creeping me out, man. Why is Lenny Bruce creeping me out, dude? Why doesn't the picture go back to full screen when I get rid of the picture? It's just the way they do this is just, I'm tempted to go to Streamlabs because I would keep way more of the money that way. But it's part OBS. It seems pretty cumbersome. I'm sure that whatever I choose to do, no matter what I choose to do, will be the wrong thing. You ever felt like you're snake bit? You know what that is? That's an old school, old man thing. It's, man, I'm snake bit. That just means you're having a bad run of things. You're not really hitting on all nines. You're kind of, why is this happening that way? Why is everything? It doesn't mean like bad. It doesn't mean like terrible or anything. It just means I can't seem to be able to make stuff happen right. And it's just, well, that's what this show is here the last couple of weeks. Let me tell you, we were on a thing where I was getting, not a lot. I mean, numbers that any other good show would look at and go, God, that's terrible. But at least, 200, and now, oh, wow, it's just, I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know what I did. I don't know. It could just be me. It just could be, the way that I am. That might be the problem. I didn't shave today because I'm trying to street it up a little for the kids, Maybe there's some pockets of boomers and stuff but a lot of boomers already know this stuff. So who knows? It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. Anyway, tomorrow's show is going to be on ball jars. Yeah. You'll want to rush in for that one, folks. I'll tell you all about them. Boy, won't you love that? Ball jars. Yeah. Going to be a real humdinger. And, yeah. So anyway, I'm looking at that old clock on the wall. Maybe this weekend I'll redesign and reprice everything on my merchandise page. That's probably a good use of my time. And cut my hair. I'm getting a little, I don't know what the hell's going on here in front. It's just not. I've been, the weather's getting nice, so I'm running again. And when I get back, I don't necessarily have time to jump in the shower and get all pretty like I normally do. What do you care? You don't care. Why am I telling you? Anyway, that old clock on the wall says, like the Reverend Al Green, it's time for me to get on up out of here. You do not have to go home, but you can't stay here. And with all that being said, the only thing left to say is, till next time, we'll see you next time.
1, 2, 3, 4. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking